Okay, gents, let's now move on to our next big segment this week on PST, World Cup Injury Watch. I wish we weren't talking about this because then that would mean there wasn't a lot of injuries going around. But unfortunately, there are a lot of superstar players out there that are set to miss the World Cup, are close, either confirmed to missing the World Cup, and are right on the cusp now. I get into that dodgy period where it's 4 or 5 weeks before the World Cup kicks off. So players will be sweating now. They pick up even small injuries. It could mean that they're not on the plane to Qatar with their national teams. So, Nick, I'm going to come to you. Some huge players, recently ruled out: Reece James, N'Golo Kante, Wesley Fofana, Diogo Jota. That's just in the Premier League, and the likes of Raul Jimenez, Richarlison, maybe Kyle Walker. They're all struggling as well. So what's your take on this situation? And we're fully on World Cup injury watch right now on PST, aren't we?
We are. The Reece James absence is a lot to take in, because I think he had an opportunity on that world stage to finally show any doubters, and I don't think there are a lot of doubters, but just how far he's come. I did a little bit of I don't want to say a deep dive, but it was a safe place to dive into the pool on his advanced numbers are just fantastic. This is a phenomenal player in a system for Graham Potter where I think he's only going to look better as time goes on. And as an American fan, I got to be honest, there's a little bit of relief there. You don't want anybody to get hurt. You never want anybody to get hurt. You want everybody to showcase their best. But I would rather go up against a lot of guys. The good news for England is I really do think they are deep there. I think watching Kieran Trippier every week, I know he's 32 and he kind of disappeared for a little bit because he went to Atletico Madrid, but whatever he learned over there, this guy is still someone who's going to give Harry Kane and Ivan Toney really good service. So James is the one that jumps out at me more than anyone else, and I know there are a lot out there.
Yeah, there are. And it's, I guess, as an Englishman, Gareth Southgate maybe knew this was going to happen because he's essentially had 17 right backs in most of his squads for the last 2 years. So that is one area where they should be okay, but that is a huge miss. Reece James has been brilliant for Chelsea so far this season. Andy, any other names that really stick out to you? Because, this Richarlison looks like he might be okay after that injury. Maybe he looked a bit worse than it actually was, which is thankful for him, and he's going to be, I think, a big player for Brazil at the World Cup. But any other players that you're really bummed about? Because I think looking outside the Premier League, Dybala, Di Maria struggling, Wijnaldum, Paul Pogba's struggling, Leroy Sané is maybe struggling as well. So there's some huge names we mentioned there, and this is, I guess, the problem of having such a condensed season and then going straight into a World Cup.
Yeah, I think Richarlison's a big one, and it probably will slide under the radar a little bit because I do think for a team that's one of, if not the favorite going into this World Cup, he is kind of the player that makes that work for them. They've got a lot of kind of luxury flair players, and he is the one that's always willing to say, all right, I'll give myself up. I will sell out. I will do the work. I will do the dirty stuff that nobody else wants to do. That's been very beneficial for Spurs when he's been available this season. And it's, I think, why he did rise to such a prominent place in that Brazil team. On everybody else, I'm really sad about some of the veterans, players that are probably going to miss their final chance at a World Cup this go around. And you mentioned a lot of them there. N'Golo Kante, a World Cup winner. Almost certainly this would be his last opportunity. Kyle Walker, Raul Jimenez, Dybala probably, maybe on the brink there, depending on what Argentina have coming up. But Wijnaldum, Di Maria, Pogba for sure. Maybe even Leroy Sané as well for Germany. There's just a lot of players that we've come to know over the years, especially when it comes to international tournaments. And we've got these big names. Those are all players that step up, by the way, on the international stage in a bigger, different way than we see them with their clubs as well. Those are some big game, big moment players for some countries that we expect to be there very late on in this tournament at the World Cup coming up. So it's going to be very interesting, some of the names that then get brought into the squad and then brought into the lineups and get the opportunities to then have their moment. And that's how the international game works. You miss one tournament, you're replaced, and that might just be it for you.
Yeah, it's a really good point because it's been weird this season knowing in the background players are thinking about the World Cup. They're either maybe holding themselves back a little bit, or if they have an injury, they're taking extra time, right, to make sure they're right. The likes of Romelu Lukaku's been out for a long time now for Inter Milan. Maybe he would have come back a bit quicker had the World Cup not been on the horizon. So there's that interesting like club versus country power struggle, I think, with a lot of these decisions. And, you know, one injury popped up in the Premier League over the last week, and some of the quotes really caught my eye. Armel Bella-Kotchap, 20-year-old centre-back for Southampton, popped his shoulder out, dislocated it against West Ham United. He's just broken into the Germany squad, on the cusp of going to Qatar for a team that could challenge for it all. And now there's two options for him. He either has surgery, which definitely rules him out of the World Cup, but he'll probably be back in a month or two. Or he just kind of has a bit of treatment for a week or two and then pops it back in every now and then, and he could go to the World Cup. So it's that real balance now. What do you do if you get an injury? And I think just holding back as well is going to be a real big issue for these players. Talking about the Premier League, Andy, how do you think this will kind of impact Premier League games between, you know, now and November 13th, where we're 3 weeks away from that, a little bit longer? That's going to have a big impact, I think, on certain teams who have a lot of players go into the World Cup.
Yeah, and we know who those teams are, and it's a lot of the teams at the top of the table. And so it's a very, very interesting little subplot that we've got going on this season. And the fact that, you know, a team like Manchester City has players from so many different national teams as well. And so, you know, the fact that there will be 5 weeks almost that these club squads will be apart from one another. Some of them will be in international camps together because they're from the same country. A lot of them will not. And so then I think the real impact of the World Cup is not going to be in these 4 games coming up. It's going to be what happens after. Obviously, there will be injuries at the tournament. The condensed tournament on top of a condensed season would mean there's going to be a lot of muscle injuries. We saw it a couple of years ago when we had the first 2 COVID-affected seasons. Hamstrings were the really big thing. Hamstrings are kind of the in thing right now, whether it's a serious injury or whether it's something. I've got a little niggle. I need to get out for a couple of days just to, you know, players playing it a little bit safe. But I think the real impact of the season is going to come in the second half because, I don't know, the final month or so of the season could really drag on. There could be a lot of players that just have nothing left in the tank, and yet they're running out there every single weekend, you know, trying to give it what they can. So yeah, it's the World Cup, and we've not fully, I don't think we understand yet how weird and just how impactful that's going to be on this season, because we can look at it and say, well, this, and this, and there's probably 5 things that we're missing completely.
Yeah, it's really, when you were talking there, I just thought about this as well. Some of the players who would be playing in Europe, obviously they will be going to Qatar to play in the World Cup, where the climate is going to be a lot nicer than slogging it out in Manchester or Liverpool in the winter months. And that might help their bodies recover. That might help, you know, on off days and rest days. But they're still going to be in an intense World Cup environment. But there are little things like that we haven't even really thought or talked to.
I wonder if we see a lot of players that are not on World Cup squads just go over. And to be there, to be in the climate, and to, you know, to be around the tournament happening and everything. And all these players know each other. They're all friends, you know, off the field, social media and everything. I wonder if actually, now that you say that, you know, you built off of my point, Joe, built off of yours. I wonder if that's kind of a thing that happens a lot, and it almost becomes, you know, Club World Cup over in Qatar.
It's going to be interesting. There's certainly some reports about certain Premier League teams and other teams across Europe going on mid-season breaks to Miami. I've seen a few reports and kind of pre-season friendlies again, that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to watch out. We'll have you covered on PST with all the latest injury news. Hopefully we're not updating it that often and there's not too many injuries between now and the start of the World Cup in Qatar, which is a month today, November 20th. So at PST, we'll have you covered all the latest World Cup news, reaction analysis, how to watch information. Just a month away, gents. And I think managers of national teams are getting pretty nervous right now and just hoping their players stay fit and they can get their lineup sorted for the big tournament in Qatar.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.